Right now, beneath Vatican City, there are 53 miles of shelving, holding documents that could rewrite history. A letter from Mary, Queen of Scots, written hours before her execution. The actual trial transcripts of Galileo. A document that proves the Knights Templar were innocent. And everything from the last 66 years. Still sealed, still secret. The Vatican claims they're just organising the papers. But when it takes over 40 years to organise documents about World War II, you have to wonder, what exactly are they organising out of existence? Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Chronicles. I'm Percival Blackwood, and today we're unlocking the Vatican Secret Archives, or as they've recently renamed them, the Vatican Apostolic Archives. Because apparently, after 400 years, they decided secret was giving people the wrong idea. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Let me tell you about a discovery that happened in 2001. Dr. Barbara Frail, an Italian paleographer, was cataloguing documents in the Vatican archives when she found something that shouldn't exist. A 60-metre-long parchment scroll, misfiled for 700 years. When she unrolled it, she was looking at the actual interrogation records of the Knights Templar. But here's where it gets interesting. This document, now called the Chinon Parchment, revealed that Pope Clement V had secretly absolved the Templars of heresy in 1308. For 7 centuries, history said the Knights Templar died as excommunicated heretics, burned at the stake by the Church. The truth? The Pope tried to save them. He absolved them in secret, but was forced by the King of France to dissolve the order anyway. This document sat in the Vatican archives for 700 years, misfiled, forgotten, while an entire legend grew around the Templars' guilt. Think about that. Misfiled. A document that could have changed a history, that proved the innocence of one of the most powerful organisations in medieval Europe, was just misfiled for 7 centuries. And if they could misfile something that important, what else is sitting in those 53 miles of shelves, waiting to be found? The Vatican Secret Archives were founded on January 31st, 1612, when Pope Paul V decided to gather all church records under one roof. He didn't call them secret to be mysterious. Secretum. In Latin means private. These were the Pope's personal files, his correspondence, his records, his secrets. But here's what they don't tell you in the tourist brochures. These archives don't just store old papers. They're actively used by the Vatican every single day. When the Pope makes decisions, when the Church negotiates with governments, when they need to reference canon law or precedents, they consult these archives. Think about what that means. Every papal decision for the last 400 years has been informed by documents we can't see. Every diplomatic move, every doctrinal declaration, every major church decision draws on information locked in those vaults. These aren't museum pieces, they're operational files. The Vatican is literally governing 1 billion Catholics using secret information. For 269 years, no outsider could enter. Then in 1881, Pope Leo XIII did something radical. He opened the archives to scholars, declaring, "The Church is not afraid of the truth." Beautiful words. But let's examine what open actually means in Vatican terms. You can't just walk in. You need to be a qualified academic researcher with institutional backing. No journalists allowed. No amateur historians. No concerned Catholics who want to know what their church is hiding. You need references from established academics. You need to apply months in advance. Your research proposal is reviewed by Vatican officials who can reject you for any reason, or no reason at all. Even if you're approved, you're one of maximum 60 people allowed in per day. You can only request 5 documents. You have to know exactly what you're looking for because you can't browse. The catalogues themselves are often handwritten in Latin or Italian from centuries ago. Some catalogue sections are mysteriously unavailable or being reorganised. You can only use pencils. No photos without special permission that takes weeks to obtain. The reading room is monitored, and anything from the last 66 years, completely off limits. Oh, and those scholars who do get in, many report a strange phenomenon. Documents they've seen referenced in other Vatican documents simply don't exist when requested. Lost, they're told, misplaced, being restored. Always some excuse. Dr. David Kurtzer, who won a Pulitzer for his Vatican research, once said scholars whisper about the shadow archives, documents that exist but are kept off the official indexes, files that only certain Vatican insiders even know about. Currently, the archives are only open through October 1958, the end of Pope Pius XII's papacy. Everything after that remains sealed, but here's what's suspicious about that date. October 1958 is when Pope Pius XII died, yes, but it's also when something strange happened at the papal conclave. White smoke appeared from the Sistine Chapel on October 26th, the signal that a pope had been elected. Vatican radio announced it. People celebrated in St. Peter's Square. Then, confusion. No pope appeared. Hours later, black smoke. No explanation was ever given for what traditionalist Catholics call the 1958 papal conclave controversy. Cardinal Giuseppe Siri was reportedly elected pope and took the name Gregory XVII, but was forced to step aside under mysterious pressure. Some claim it was communist infiltration. Others suggest American intelligence interference. The CIA was deeply involved in Italian politics at the time, funneling millions to prevent communist electoral victories. Every document from that conclave? Sealed. Every cardinal's diary from that period? If it's in the archives, it's off limits. We're told it's about privacy. But every participant in that conclave has been dead for decades. What really happened in October 1958? The answer might be in those archives. But we can't see it. Here's something they definitely don't advertise. In 1809, Napoleon decided he wanted the Vatican archives for himself. He literally had French troops pack up 3,000 crates of documents and haul them to Paris. The plan was to create a Central European archive under French control. When Napoleon fell in 1814, the Vatican tried to get their documents back, but between a quarter and a third of those documents never made it home. Some were supposedly sold as scrap paper, others just vanished. But here's what's interesting. Napoleon was obsessed with ancient knowledge and the occult. He spent a night in the Great Pyramid of Giza. He collected artifacts from across his empire. His scholars decoded the Rosetta Stone. What if those lost Vatican documents weren't sold for scrap? What if Napoleon's agents identified and kept the most sensitive materials? Documents about ancient knowledge, lost civilizations, suppressed gospels. To this day, French national archives and private collections occasionally surface Vatican documents from the Napoleonic seizure. In 2010, documents about the Knights Templar appeared in a French archive. In 2016, papal letters from the 13th century emerged from a private collection. If these keep surfacing after 200 years, what else is out there? And more importantly, what did the Vatican choose not to pursue when given the chance to reclaim them? Let's talk about what we know is in there, because even the confirmed contents raise troubling questions. There's a letter from King Henry VIII, signed by 81 English nobles, begging the Pope to annul his marriage. The red silk ribbons attaching their wax seals. That's literally where we get the term red tape. But here's what's odd. The Vatican has this letter. They show it off occasionally. But the preliminary negotiations, the secret offers Henry made, the Vatican's internal discussions about whether to grant the annulment, those remain restricted. Why? They have Galileo's complete trial records. But researchers who've seen them report pages are missing. Key testimony vanished. The Vatican claims it's natural deterioration. But the pages that deteriorated just happen to be the ones dealing with Galileo's evidence. The Vatican holds letters from both Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson Davis during the Civil War. They'll show you those. But the Vatican's instructions to American bishops about which side to support. The correspondence about Vatican diplomatic recognition of the Confederacy. Sealed. See the pattern. They'll show you the Hollywood version, the dramatic letter, the famous signature. But the context, the negotiations, the real discussions of power, those stay hidden. March 2nd, 2020. After decades of pressure, Pope Francis finally opens the archives of Pope Pius XII, the Pope during World War II. The world held its breath. Finally, we'd know the truth about the Vatican and the Holocaust. But something strange happened. The day before the archives opened, Vatican officials held an unusual briefing. They prepared journalists for what they'd find. They contextualized the documents. They essentially told researchers how to interpret what they were about to see. Even stranger? Not all of Pius XII's archives were opened. Certain sections remain closed for processing. It's been 4 years. They're still processing. What researchers have found is damning enough. Documents show the Vatican received detailed reports about mass killings of Jews as early as 1942. They knew about the gas chambers. They had testimonies from escaped prisoners. But here's what's suspicious. Several researchers report finding references to documents that don't exist when requested. Indexes mentioning files that have gone missing. One historian found a letter referencing a special collection about Nazi racial policies when he requested it. No such collection exists. Dr. Hubert Wolff, a German researcher, discovered that crucial files about Vatican-Nazi relations had been moved to the Apostolic Penitentiary, a separate Vatican department whose archives are permanently sealed. Convenient. The Vatican claims they're being transparent. But when you can move sensitive documents to other departments with eternal secrecy rules, how transparent is that really? Every Catholic diocese is required by canon law to maintain its own secret archive. Not private, secret. Canon 489 specifically uses that word. Let that sink in. The Catholic Church legally requires secret archives in every diocese, worldwide. These aren't historical collections. These are active files containing personnel records, abuse allegations, financial documentation. When the sexual abuse crisis exploded, investigators discovered dioceses had been documenting abuse for decades. They knew. They recorded it. They filed it in their secret archives while moving predator priests to new parishes. Boston, Philadelphia, Ireland, Australia. Every investigation found the same thing. Meticulous records of abuse hidden in diocesan secret archives. Now think about this. If every diocese has a secret archive, and the Vatican is the central authority, what does the Vatican's archive contain about these cases? Instructions to bishops? Strategies for containing scandals? Financial arrangements for silence? We won't know for 75 years. Maybe longer if they keep extending the timeline. By then everyone involved will be dead. The victims, the perpetrators, the cover-up artists, all safely beyond earthly justice. But here's what really should disturb you. In 2018, Pope Francis ordered a special search of the archives for files about ex-Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. They found documents going back decades about his abuse. Documents that proved the Vatican knew. If they can find those documents when legally forced to, what else is in there? And why does it take a papal order to uncover crimes the Church already documented? The Vatican Observatory operates one of the world's most advanced telescope systems. They employ serious astronomers. They've stated officially that discovering alien life would pose no problem for Catholic theology. In 2008, the Vatican's chief astronomer, Father José Gabriel Funes, published an article titled, "The Extraterrestrial is My Brother." The Vatican held a scientific conference on astrobiology. They're actively looking for alien life. Now, why would an institution based on humanity's unique relationship with God be so comfortable with the idea of aliens? Unless they already know something? In 2023, former intelligence official David Grush testified to Congress about UFO recovery programs. He specifically claimed that Pope Pius XII helped cover up a UFO crash in Italy in 1933. According to Grush, Mussolini's government recovered a craft, the Vatican helped suppress it, and after World War II, the Americans took possession. The Vatican's response? No response. They neither confirmed nor denied. They just ignored it. But here's what's interesting. Researchers studying Pius XII's newly opened archives have found references to unconventional aerial phenomena in northern Italy in the 1930s. Correspondence with Italian military officials about matters requiring special discretion. Instructions to bishops about not inflaming popular superstition regarding celestial events. Could be anything, or could be exactly what Grusch claimed. Then there's Father Pellegrino Ernetti, a respected Benedictine monk, scientist and musician. In the 1960s, he claimed the Vatican possessed a device called the Chronovisor, a time-viewing machine developed by a team including Enrico Fermi and Werner von Braun. Ernetti said he'd watched Christ's crucifixion through it, attended ancient Roman performances, witnessed Napoleon's speeches. He provided detailed descriptions, even producing a photograph of Christ that was later proven to be from a wooden crucifix in Colle Valenza. Here's what's strange. Ernetti was a serious scientist with legitimate credentials. He held multiple degrees and taught at Venice's Benedetto Marcello Conservatory. Why would he destroy his reputation with an obvious hoax? Before his death in 1994, Ernetti allegedly confessed the photo was fake, but insisted the chronovisor was real. He claimed the Vatican ordered him to confuse the issue with false evidence because the device was too dangerous. French priest François Brune, who wrote a book about Ernetti, claims multiple Vatican officials confirmed the device's existence to him off the record. They supposedly said it was disassembled because it could upset the social order. Wild claims. But in 1988, the Vatican issued a decree excommunicating anyone who uses an instrument enabling one to see and hear events from the past or future. Why make a law against something that doesn't exist? The Vatican Library, separate from the secret archives, contains 80,000 manuscripts and 1.6 million books. Many have never been fully catalogued. Scholars estimate that less than 1% of the Vatican's total holdings have been properly studied. In that unstudied 99% could be anything. Lost Gospels that early church councils rejected. Ancient maps showing lands we claim weren't discovered yet. Scientific knowledge that would predate our accepted timelines. In 2012, art historian Silvano Vincetti claimed to have found documents suggesting the Vatican holds texts about advanced technologies from antiquity, ancient batteries, optical lenses, calculating devices. The Vatican dismissed his claims but never actually denied having such texts. They definitely have books that have been banned or destroyed everywhere else. The complete works of heretics whose writings were burned, pagan texts that Christian emperors ordered destroyed, Islamic scholarship from libraries destroyed during the Crusades. What knowledge did the Church preserve while publicly condemning it? What did they save from the Library of Alexandria before it burned? What did they take from the Aztecs and Incas before destroying their civilizations? Here's a pattern you might have noticed. The Vatican is remarkably good at having documents appear and disappear exactly when needed. The Chinon Parchment vindicating the Templars, found in 2001, just when the Church was facing massive criticism and needed some positive press about transparency. Documents about Pius XII saving Jews, they surface whenever his sainthood cause needs defending. Embarrassing documents about Vatican finances or abuse, those stay misfiled or get moved to departments with eternal secrecy. It's almost like the archives are less a repository of truth and more a carefully managed narrative device. Documents emerge when they serve the Church's purposes. They vanish when they don't. Consider the Vatican bank scandal of the 1980s. Roberto Calvi, known as God's banker, was found hanging under Blackfriars Bridge in London. The Vatican bank lost hundreds of millions. Documents that could explain what happened, they're in those closed archives. Or take the disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi, the 15-year-old Vatican citizen who vanished in 1983. Her family believes the Vatican knows what happened. They've begged for archive access, denied. Those documents won't be available until at least 2058, if ever. Every scandal, every mystery, every unanswered question, the documents exist, They're in those 53 miles of shelving, but they're managed, controlled, released strategically, or not at all. In 2019, Pope Francis renamed them from secret to Apostolic Archives. He said it was to avoid misunderstandings, that secret just meant private. But changing the name doesn't change the reality. These remain some of the most restricted archives on Earth, and there's a reason for that. The Vatican isn't just the Catholic Church's headquarters, it's a sovereign nation. The Pope is an absolute monarch. These archives are his personal property. No court can subpoena them. No government can demand access. They exist beyond any earthly law except the Pope's will. Think about what that means. For 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has been collecting information. Confessions from world leaders. Intelligence from every Catholic nation. Scientific discoveries from Jesuit scholars. Reports from missionaries on every continent. All of it flows to Rome. All of it goes into those archives, and all of it remains under the absolute control of one man. The Vatican has outlasted every empire. It's survived every revolution. It's maintained continuity, while nations rose and fell around it. Part of that survival comes from information. Knowledge is power, and the Vatican has been accumulating knowledge longer than any other institution on Earth. When you control history, you control the narrative. When you hold everyone's secrets, you hold power over everyone. Those 53 miles of shelving aren't just storing the past, they're controlling the future. Let me leave you with one final thought that should keep you up at night. The Vatican has been digitizing their archives. Sounds like transparency, right? Except here's the thing about digitization. It's also the perfect opportunity to sanitize. When you scan a document, you create a new version. The original can then be preserved in climate-controlled storage where no one can access it. Meanwhile, the digital version becomes the official record. But digital documents can be edited silently, invisibly. Pages can vanish. Words can change. Entire documents can be deleted with no trace. Physical documents leave evidence of tampering. Digital ones, a few keystrokes and history changes. The Vatican says digitization is about preservation and access. But when an institution with a 2,000-year history of controlling information suddenly embraces technology that makes information infinitely malleable, you have to wonder, are they preserving history or perfecting it? The truth is we don't know what's in those archives. We don't know what's been lost, hidden or destroyed. We don't know what they're protecting or who they're protecting it from. But we do know this. An institution doesn't maintain 53 miles of secret documents unless those documents contain secrets worth keeping. It doesn't restrict access unless access would be dangerous. It doesn't spend centuries accumulating information unless information is power. The Vatican secret archives, Apostolic Archives, aren't just a library. They're a weapon, a tool of control, a way to shape reality by controlling what we're allowed to know about our past. And maybe that's the biggest secret of all. Not what's in the archives, but why they exist in the first place, to ensure that the truth remains exactly what the Vatican says it is. No more, no less, and certainly no sooner than they decide we're ready to hear it. Next week on the Rabbit Hole Chronicles, we're investigating the numbers stations. For over a century, mysterious radio broadcasts have transmitted coded messages to unknown recipients. The Lincolnshire Poacher, the Russian Buzzer, the Cuban 5-4. In the age of encrypted internet, why are Cold War-era spy networks still broadcasting? And what happens when someone finally cracks the code? Until then, I'm Percival Blackwood, reminding you that the most dangerous secrets aren't the ones they hide. They're the ones they hide in plain sight, behind Latin catalogues and 75-year waiting periods. The truth isn't buried. It's just very, very managed.